All right, so the fourth and final game on the June 2007 LSAT states there are exactly 3 recycling centers in Rivertown: Center 1, Center 2, and Center 3. Exactly 5 kinds of material are recycled at these recycling centers: glass, newsprint, plastic, tin, and wood. Each recycling center recycles at least 2 but no more than 3 of these kinds of materials. The following conditions must hold. All right, so we have 3 centers, centers 1, 2, and 3, and each of these centers recycles at least 2, but no more than 3. So again, we know that at least 2, but keep in mind max 3 of these materials. And again, what are these materials? Well, we have 5 options. Again, glass, newspaper, plastic, tin, and wood. All right, so now let's turn our attention to the conditions. The first condition tells us any recycling center that recycles wood also recycles newsprint. So our first condition, any, again, introduces sufficient. So if you recycle wood, then you must recycle newsprint, contrapositive. If you don't recycle newsprint, then you don't recycle wood. Our second condition tells us that every kind of material that Center 2 recycles is also recycled at Center 1. Again, every introduces sufficient. So if you are recycled in Center 2, you must be recycled by Center 1. Contrapositive, if you're not recycled in Center 1, you can't be recycled in Center 2. And you should notice from that rule that there are only 3 possibilities, because again, we know that Center 2 is going to have either 2 or 3 materials. And if Center 2 has 2 materials, then Center 1 is going to share those exact same materials. The other possibility is that Center 2 has 3 materials, and again, we know since it's max 3, Center 1 is going to share those exact same 3 materials. But don't overlook the possibility that a material recycled by Center 1 is not recycled by Center 2. Because being in Center 1 is our necessary condition. It tells us absolutely nothing about whether or not that material is also in Center 2. So it is possible for Center 1 to have 3 spots and Center 2 to have only 2. Okay, so keep that in mind as we progress through this game. Turning our attention to the final condition, only one of the centers recycles plastic, and that recycling center does not recycle glass. So our last condition here is that we have exactly 1 plastic, and that center that recycles plastic does not recycle glass. Contrapositive, if you recycle glass, you are not recycling the only plastic. Now that's going to allow us to make another deduction here, because if plastic were to appear in Center 2, Rule 2 tells us it must also appear in Center 1, which violates the third condition that there's only 1 plastic. Therefore, plastic cannot be in recycling Center 2, so actually our 1 plastic is either going to show up in 1 or 3. Now that we have all of our rules and deductions clearly laid out, let's turn our attention to question number 18.